On this episode of Beyond the Art, we meet Robert King, a Choctaw ceramic artist whose work emerges directly from the land he inhabits. Drawing from wild clay, stone, sand, and minerals gathered in the high desert, Robert creates vessels that honor place, process, and ancestry. His practice is a quiet dialogue between earth and hand, one rooted in memory, patience, and a deep respect for the natural world. This is Beyond the Art with Robert King. Robert, welcome to Beyond the Art.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Take us to the very beginning. How'd you get started with working with clay?
So it's sort of like an unromantic story, but I quite like it.
I got a violin.
I'm from like basket and beadwork culture. Our pots were left behind. We're displaced people. Our pots were left behind and broken along the trail. And so I wasn't super exposed to pottery, culturally. I saw like postmodern trash. I saw a video online of somebody throwing a pot on the wheel. And I thought, gosh, that's like incredible. That's like mesmerizing. And so I've got three brothers, and one of my brothers, I was like, have you ever seen anybody like make pottery on a wheel? And he's like, yeah, my girlfriend's got a wheel in the garage. And I was like, oh my God, bring that to me. And like before the month was over, I had a kiln. I'd like hired an electrician to wire the kiln. I was firing really bad pots and on my way, I guess.
You describe your work as a love letter to the land. When did the land become a central character in your work?
Yeah, this landscape is so different than what I'm used to. I've been drawn to this place for a long time, had visited many times over the years. It's actually not that far, as you guys know well. And I just thought it was really interesting how much the landscape sort of makes you pay attention. Where I'm from, down in southeastern Oklahoma, it's wild, but it's wild in a different way. It's sort of these rolling hills and low mountains and green, thick and flowing water and all of that. So it was really sort of shocking when I got here, but really like alluring. And so I remember I moved here during one of our wind seasons. We have like 2 seasons that are actually just like straight wind out here. And I felt like, man, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here. I feel like almost this place is trying to like blow me away on some level. Go forth. And but I started working with some of the materials around my home and studio, and I said I got to understand this place a little bit better. It's incredibly beautiful. It makes you pay attention because of some of the subtleties and nuance, which I particularly appreciate. And kind of over time, I built kinship with this place. And now when I'm hiking the arroyos or places where I gather materials, it's like, what's up? Hey, cousin. Like I know the place a little bit.
Well, working with wild clay and natural materials does take a lot of patience and respect. And so when you start that process, do you wait for it to speak to you, or do you have something in mind to start creating something that needs to be told?
Yeah, I mean, these native materials that are resting here, they're like us, They're living. They have things that they're really good at. They have some things that maybe they're not so good at. And so
they have bad days. They have good days.
Exactly. Right. One of the things that I really try to do is not ask the clay to do something that it's not good at. And that's one of the lessons that I learned early on. Clay has been such a wonderful, wonderful teacher for me in so many ways. We don't have enough time today, but that's one of them is ask people to do those things that they're really gifted in. And so I try to only do that in the work. Lots of experimentation, lots of play, lots of collaboration, lots of light touch, letting it be it without too much of my imprint on it.
Yeah, you balance Choctaw techniques with modern methods. How did you decide to lean into, or what? How do you decide when to lean into heritage and when to experiment?
I don't know that decide is really the right word. It's more of I guess just like a feel thing, you know. Like I mentioned before, it's pretty slim, the amount of Choctaw pots that are still in existence today. It's actually sad. A lot of them have water motifs on them, of course, from back when we were in Mississippi. I don't know how to sort of answer that question, because it's more of an overall sense. My indigeneity is one piece of who I am as a human living in this modern experience. And so I definitely bring it to the work. I also bring lots of things to the work. I was a physician for many years, went to medical school, did a residency. I taught medicine at medical schools and stuff, I bring all of that to the work. I bring the landscapes that I've seen. I bring the relationships that I've had with other humans, the sort of emotional places that I've gone, so I think it is a factor, but I don't think it's a cognitive thing where I'm like, this is going to be like a super Choctaw heavy piece. It's like, it's just there.
It's just there. It just speaks for itself. I mean, you create almost entirely in solitude. How does working in that type of environment shape your voice as an artist? And does it help kind of bring yourself more into the piece as you're creating it?
I mean, I think so. I'm a bit of an outsider as far as the art world. I didn't go to art school, into medical school, that right there sort of is a different path just from the get-go. I'm a country mouse, I like to be out there, where there's not a lot of distraction.
Right.
I like to work. I love making work. There's nothing I want more than to be in the studio making work. And so, to sort of place myself out in Galisteo, where I have the support if I need it, but people aren't bothering me. Not only that, the materials are at hand. These beautiful ancient materials are in my backyard. I think that's the right recipe, that sort of quietness, spaciousness to really, I think when I'm making my best work, that's what I'm drawing from.
Do you go into a zone when you go into your studio? And do you have to be, I guess, set your time to when you need to work? Or is it just something that's like, okay, I have this idea, here I go?
Yeah, I've tried that. It doesn't really work for me. It starts to feel like work really quickly. Right. I'm sort of always working. Like, the studio practice is really weaved into every aspect of my life. I know you guys just chatted with my partner, Jamie, and she can attest to that. It's like the first thing I do when I wake up is I get a cup of coffee and I go check on things in the studio. Last thing I do before I go to bed is to make sure that everything's tucked in at night. And throughout the day, no matter what I'm doing, I'm there in some way, and so, and I like that. I think that I'm at my best when the work is like an extension of just my life and living sort of a beautiful life. I really, really, really respect Toshiko Takaezu, who's a Japanese-American ceramic artist, and I think she did that so beautifully, and lots of others who have sort of shown us the way. Right. There is no difference between the garden, the studio, and the kitchen, that sort of thing, where it's just all one thing.
You've mentioned that the Choctaw clay tradition is nearly lost. What does it mean to you to be part of that revival that's happening now?
I'm honored. I'm honored. I just felt a tinge of emotionality there. I love that we're bringing it back, and I was thinking I've met lots of people, of course, this week. It's a wild week and weekend, but people from my tribe have come up and we're talking about doing some artists in residence stuff, and we're talking about me meeting with some folks that are already very much involved in rekindling those sort of pottery traditions. For me, I want to rekindle those traditions, but I want to do it just a little bit differently. To tell stories of my ancestors doesn't feel authentic to my modern lived experience. And so, for me as an artist, I'm chasing authenticity, and I want to tell stories about what it's like today to be a modern Indigenous person, particularly like a modern mixed Indigenous person,
right.
What does that feel like, And so I'm really excited to sort of partner with them more in the future, hopefully to continue to teach people. This is part of our culture,
Mm-hmm. I love that position that you have here, because I've always felt that the works that we have created throughout our history have always been contemporary works. A lot of the works maybe based in tradition were always reflective of the days that we are living now.
Based on current
times. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And I again, good work has power because it's really authentic.
Correct. Yeah.
It cuts to the bone. It starts talking to your organs. It skips the brain and starts talking to your organs. And for me to go back and make work that my ancestors would have made, that's not authentic to me.
Right.
I didn't grow up in the same place they did while they're inside me and certainly supporting me in this journey.
Because they're part of your story, but it's not their story.
That's right.
Because
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's about that, leaning into that. What is true for me? What is this experience for me? Which is such a wonderful challenge to me as a non-figurative ceramic artist. To how do you imbue a vessel, this living being, with emotion? How do you tell a story? How do you build a narrative around a body of ceramic works? That's my challenge.
And a lot of times their pieces were for functional use, not for decorative and artistry. I mean, they didn't have collectors, so it's a little bit of different story, and that journey is different. So incorporating that that's relevant for today. But your pieces have a reverence and a rebellion. What is part of that process, and how do they coexist? Because the end form is beautiful, what you create.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your award.
Thank you. Thank you. I love the tension between me using this sort of quote unquote common material, clay, rocks, wood ash, these sort of things that are just in existence, but tying those surfaces to really elegant, really elevated forms. I love the tension. I love to challenge people's perception of what's precious, what's beautiful. A lot of folks think that something can't truly be beautiful unless it's a little bit ugly. I like to sort of lean into that a little bit. So I think about that a lot in the work, and how do I sort of make a piece that's incredibly elegant, but maybe the surface is kind of gnarly.
And how's that relationship between you and the material? Because sometimes the outcome isn't quite what one would envision beforehand. And so what's that relationship with the material for you?
We're still negotiating that.
Get back to us.
With the work that I'm doing, it's such a give and take. It is a true collaboration, where I don't feel right. I don't feel I'm respecting the material unless I'm allowing that material to have voice. And so it truly is a conversation where I'm holding space for the piece to do something unexpected. That could be something that I find beautiful and special, or it may be something that I may not super love.
Right.
And if that's the case, maybe I give it another try. I do something a little different, give it another try. But I'm still trying to figure that out. The materials that I use have so much soul. They're these ancient beings that I just have utmost respect for. And, you know, one of the things that I think really long and hard about, if I'm digging clay from the side of an arroyo, that is about as beautiful as you can get on this planet to me. And so for me to ask, and I do ask, to say, I'd like to see if I can make you even more beautiful, you know, that's a thought that I have. Can I do that? You know, am I able to make it more beautiful than it is as it just rests? Yeah.
I like that. It's beautiful in itself. But you've described each vessel as a element to, or a chance to actually educate and reconcile. Give us an example of what sparked that meaningful dialogue for you to actually have that opportunity in creating such something that can do that.
Yeah, you know, I mean, we're living in some kind of challenging times right now. There's a narrative that's being pushed that I don't feel is okay.
I think you have a lot of people behind. You're not single on that voice, but that's a different conversation.
You know, and even outside of the sort of like evil and cruelty of that narrative, there are just a lot of people that don't really think about indigenous peoples as people that are alive today. You know, there's that historical sort of Edward Curtis style, you know, thing where it's like regalia mixing and doctoring photos and all of that sort of nonsense to sort of try to build mystique around the native person and put them in a time capsule. And it's like, oops, we escaped. We're still here, you know? And so that's really the message that I want to send with a lot of this work is like, I'm living in this modern world with you, you know? Yes, I'm coming from this lineage and this is really important to me. And, but I'm here.
Right.
I've got the internet.
Well, I think a lot of people that are outside or somewhat bubble, that are non-native, don't understand that we continue to evolve. Just because, you know, first contact, we like all of a sudden dissipated or we're on reservations, but it's almost like Disney-esque thing. They have this vision of who the Native American is. It's like, no, we continue to evolve. So did our ancestors continue to evolve.
That's right.
And our story continues to evolve and it still needs to be told, but just in a different format. We're not using the pieces as functional tools anymore, but it's still our artistry of how we're telling our story.
That's right, Gray. And you know, the style of work that I make, these are vessels. You know, I wouldn't recommend someone, you know, like plant a tomato in one of these or, you know, use it to like carry water around or whatever. But that's honoring the past of where this tradition, both, you know, with indigenous peoples and peoples all over the world. I'm highly inspired by Korean and Japanese ceramics. And that's what I'm talking about. Like we're all sort of like in this milieu together, you know, to relegate myself to something that isn't in the moment is missing something really fantastic, you know? So again, sort of, making work that feels really contemporary, but is also a nod to these traditions feels really good and feels right. As you know, being a modern indigenous person living in the past and also living in the present sort of at once.
A mentor of mine many years ago had expressed frustration by collectors and non-natives pigeonholing him to this idea that he's a Native American artist, when in fact his argument was he's an artist who happens to be Native American. And sure, it's the foundation of his work, but his work reflects the world that's around him. And I hear much of what you're saying and reflecting what he was saying.
That's right.
All those years ago.
Well, and I just have to wonder, like, I've been caught off guard by people that, like, have asked me, people that I know well say, like, well, how does your indigeneity affect your art? And there's nothing wrong with that question, really. But I have to pause and wonder, like, is that question asked of, like, people from other places,
ethnic background, right?
Yeah,
right.
like as you're saying, there's sort of like this shrouding of mystique that happens with indigenous peoples that sort of doesn't get applied with to others, and quite honestly, there's some. I feel like some disappointment sometime, whether that's collectors or whatever, when they realize like I'm a guy living in 2025, you know, like I'm just living my modern life,
right.
but this is part of me.
Right,
you know?
right.
Yeah.
You know, there's sort of this want, and sometimes they take it really far. I had a lady in the gallery the other day, I'm really dishing now. You know, I was talking about where I'm from, you know, and just sharing stuff about the Choctaw Nation. She's like, I would have thought Italian. Lift your glasses up. I want to see your cheekbones. And I thought, really? What year are we in? What year are we in?
And it astonishes me, you know, doing this show and starting this show, how many indigenous Native American artists are approached by collectors. And I mean, the collectors are one that pays the bill. You know, they do help our community and for further exposure. But some of them have come up to various artists as like, well, it's not Native enough. Well, let me see. I'm a Native and I'm an artist. So it's being created by a Native artist. Right. So it's 100% Native work.
And for me, I'm done letting others dictate what is and isn't Native art. Like I'm
can't fight that fight. Done. Yeah.
Like I don't need to convince you of either my own indigeneity or the value of my work, related to, you know, in the context of like indigenous art. I just don't need to do that. I'm going to make the work that's authentic to me, and you can think whatever you want.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. No. You know, I was at the show, I think it was 2 nights ago. And I saw your pieces there, and I was absolutely captivated by all of the elements that were in there. And the question that's come up is how do those elements, the reflection of the land that's around the area, how do those come through in your pieces?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thought, and again, like I want to make sure and leave lots of room for the materials to have their voice as well, and not have too heavy a hand in it. Yeah, I mean, I think the thought is to capture the essence of place, and when I'm maybe making my best work, capture the essence of place, but also capture some of the emotional energy that I have, or lived experience that I have, and sort of imbue that into the piece as well. I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, I want the materials to speak. I want them to shine through, and again, to sort of challenge people's notions of what is precious, what is elevated, what is elegant. Can a surface that if you were to rub your hand across it would cut you, can that be elegant? I think so.
Yeah. Years ago, I was part of an excavation that was going on. They'd found these pots near where I'd grown up, and there was this realization that there were thousands of people that used to live in that place. And looking at those pots, being in the ground for about 700 years, they estimated later, what I saw the other night really took me back to that moment, and to the seeds and the remnants of seeds that were still in some of those pots. And it's just a reflection of place, like you have just mentioned. And it was just really touching to be able to see your work and your words that you're reflecting on that. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. I get honestly, I get too much credit for the work, the materials. I'm riding their coattails.
Right.
You're
the translator for them.
Maybe that's a good way. Maybe that's a good way to put it. And for me, like, I love to experiment with the material. I love to play with it. I love to learn about it. We're building kinship. We're building relationship with each other. I love that more actually than the making. I love it certainly more than the selling. But I'd love to see, what are you? Oh, there's this really interesting collection of rocks here that are related on some level. I'd like to take those into the studio and see what they can become. Will you allow that? That kind of thing.
We're kind of going off of Joe's question of sense of place. The story of the Mother Mound is central to your cultural heritage. How does that origin story inform your creative identity, and how is it infused into the work that once you start that process of, as you said, making something ugly beautiful, what it comes is extracted from that?
I mean, you nailed it. Yeah, it's that. I mean, there's something just incredibly poetic about being a people that emerged from the ground, clay, lukfinia, fat dirt, and being able to tell stories about a modern lived experience, indigenous experience, Choctaw experience, with this material that we emerged from. Yeah, it's special. It's really special. I made a pot to honor that, and had my brothers sort of put their fingerprints on the pot to again sort of honor the emergence of us, but also that idea that but also still here.
It's been the most challenging technical experience that you've taken on, and how did you work through that?
Oh my goodness. I think a lot of it is, again, it took a while to figure out what materials are good at what. It's just like getting your bearings with a group of people that's new. You think, well, who are all these people? What are they interested in? What are they good at? What do they like to do? And so a lot of that, I had a lot of failed pots because I was asking the materials to do things that they just aren't naturally good at. A lot of the clay bodies around here are incredibly short, meaning that they don't have much plasticity, and so if you start, stretching those clays past their physical limitations, they don't respond well to that. And I can't be upset about that. I've asked more than what they're able to give me. And so I think, to answer your question, a lot of the early days was some frustration around, just trying to figure out what these things were good at and what I could reasonably ask of them.
What motivates you or inspires you as you start going out and looking for the material?
I'm always on the lookout. I've always got my little Ziploc bags in the car. If I see an interesting color, or I see something that's very, very clearly pure clay, or even sometimes if I see something that looks really impure, that's really interesting. So one of the things that I just did is I just got back from Colorado. I'll be doing a residency at the Denver Art Museum, and I was digging clay bodies and materials, just driving around finding them, and some of them are really interesting. Dirty ass South Platte River as it runs right by REI in downtown Denver. That's clay on those banks.
Yeah.
It smells awful. It smelled awful throughout the whole process. But it's about can I make something really, really beautiful or meaningful from this thing that people see every day, and sort of just avoid maybe even, Yeah.
Or don't see the inner beauty as you described.
That's
taking that ugliness and making it something beautiful.
That's great. I'm scraping the duck shit off the clay.
That doesn't sound too fun there, Rob.
Well, it kind of half answers the next question. Is the act of digging for clay provides a connection to the land, that experience. How would you describe that to someone who's not experienced that?
It's humbling to me, I think. I think it has to be done responsibly. I try my best to make as little impact as possible, as we spoke on previously. It's a big task to say, hey, I'm going to scoop this clay up and form it into something that's even more beautiful than where it lies. I think that's a big task for anyone, including me. But it's a humbling experience. I mean, what would you say to a teacher that's a million years old? I don't know. You just ask to work with them and learn from them, I guess, And so, I think for me, it's about positing myself as as a student, saying, I hope you'll let me work with you.
Mhm.
You know,
When you imagine the next chapter of your creative journey, where is it that you want to go? What is it that you want to experiment with and pursue as you continue forward?
you know, I know I keep saying authenticity, but rather than being like, oh, I want to get into mixed media,
Right.
or I think I just more want to follow that. Like, where am I?
Right.
Where am I in this moment? And my hope is that not only like will I be satisfied because I'm sort of working through whatever's going on in my life or the world or whatever, but also that the work will be meaningful to others because it feels relevant, because it's of the moment. You know, I don't really set too many goals as far as like, oh, I want to be like in this museum by this day. I mean, it's great, you know, and I'm so happy that people, you know, are interested in the work. But I, as a human being, am more interested in continuing to sort of be present in the moment and have the work represent that, I guess, if that answers your question.
It does. I think sometimes it's nice to not know or the unforeseen path.
Yeah.
Instead of being so determined you're going to take this path, because you're going to miss out on the side trips and experiences if you're too determined to do this way. So the unforeseen sometimes takes you to better places. And again, I think it teaches you, especially as an artist, the various elements that are going to bring and teach you, and you're going to learn more about yourself, but also on your creative journey. And to go back to your creative journey, congrats again on your award.
Thank you.
And your award was for?
I got a blue in abstract sculpture. So yeah.
Fantastic.
So what does that mean?
To me, as a person, it feels good. It feels good, you know, to be accepted by community, to be finding my way in this new place where I'm still very new and still very much learning it. It feels good because I'm making work that is true to myself and not trying to be anything other than what I am. And it's a little outside the bounds of what a lot of the work that you'll see a few blocks that way, you know. But to sort of have these esteemed jurors say, yeah, we really like that. That feels good. It's really encouraging. Yeah.
Finally, Rob, what is your hope for someone who holds one of your pots for the first time? What is your hope that they feel?
If they're holding it, that's a good start.
Okay. Right on.
Because I want to create, we've all had those moments where we've been awed by nature on some level. Maybe it was like the Grand Canyon or White Sands, or maybe it was just like a private moment with a tree that you found particularly like beautiful, or you had some sort of relationship, or a large rock, you know, whatever. My hope is that they have the spaciousness to, one, be holding the pot, two, to be able to share a moment with the pot and be in conversation with it, whether that's their mind or their body. So I guess to answer your question, I want people to be awed by it in the same way that you know, these materials where they've rested for millennia sort of awe. I want them to see that.
Well, I think you have 2 new awe fans. So your work is spectacular. And
Absolutely.
thank you for stopping by and taking the moment to chat with us today. It's a complete pleasure, and continue success as your journey continues. And thank you, Rob King.
Thank you. Same to you guys. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Robert King reminds us that clay remembers. Through each vessel, he rekindles Choctaw pottery traditions nearly lost to history, reimagining them with the care and attention for today. His work is both resistance and reconciliation, a letter to land, lineage, and the enduring power of indigenous creativity. This is Beyond the Art.